So Mukut, what are your takes on the future of both distribution and broadcasting?
Yeah. So on distribution, my CEO, a very interesting word, he sort of calls us the Shudras in the scheme of things, right? So there are the Brahmins who create interesting stuff, and then the Vaishyas who milk the interesting stuff, and then there are the guys who have to do the hard yards. But the heart of the matter is that unless you have a leg to the customer, you can't make money. And unless you can make money, the business doesn't survive beyond a point. So it's a very necessary, fundamental evil. I think the change that I have seen, and I would like to talk about that, is that some years ago, distribution was all about your differentiator out there in the market. How do you build your own pathway to get to the customer? And the sharper the pathway and deeper the pathway, the more the competitive advantage that you had, right? So it was almost like, this is my family jewel, and I want to guard it with all my might. That's what the Unilever did, that's what the Pepsi did, that's what the Coke did, and so on. So that's why battles were fought. I think the big change that has happened is that people have come to see distribution as an infrastructure to ride upon, right? And hence the emphasis has shifted from building your own to riding on what exists. That's one. Second, I think it's been all about, hence, how can I tag along with the 5 other people who are relevant and interesting to me to make it happen? So my urge to everyone is that don't think about distribution. It's very poetic, and there's nothing wrong in it. Think about there is a Facebook, there is a Google, there is an Amazon, and each of them have their own, so to say, large consumer franchise that they cater to. But if that's the way you're going to start, then you're really setting yourself up at steep odds. Whereas you can ride any of these guys, or you can ride, for example, Tata Sky has about 18 million connections, right? And each of these pay us month on month and have a very strong connect. There are many existing blocks of customers which are tagged one way or the other to some partner, some provider. And everyone is thinking about how else do I deepen my connect, and how else do I sweat the customer that I have. So think about partners that you can be a part of. If you're thinking about distribution at all, then think about distribution as a horizontal platform. Don't think about distribution as something that you would like to hold on to yourself, right? So that's the first thought that I had, and I think it's a great opportunity for all of us, and I think this room is largely about people who are creating new products, about new experiences. If you can then sort of go back to people, the conventional organizations who have paying customers or who have access to customers, and get them to monetize your product or sweat your product. This is the first thesis. See, specifically on the pay TV industry, right? And I think we've all, and I've sort of stopped doing that, but most of us have moved to a place where none of us do the classical appointment viewing, right? For those of us who have grown up in the Doordarshan era, there used to be a slot where a Chitrahar would come. There used to be a slot, let's say, where a movie would come. There used to be another slot where a movie highlight package would come. And these were seminal landmark events in our everyday lives. The entire family locked themselves around these events, and that's all we did at those moments. That's how central TV was, because there was no other content. Right? I remember the first time Doordarshan launched its Metro channel, and I had one of my aunts out there in Delhi. I used to just think about her and envy the fact that she has access to Metro as a channel. Right? I wouldn't envy the fact that she was living in a metropolitan city. I wouldn't envy the fact that she had many other amenities, but I would always envy the fact that she had all these entertainment. Whereas I was stuck with Krishi Darshan at a certain hour, she actually has a close-up Antakshari to look up to. Right? Cut to the chase right now. The amount of content, video, many of us are in Telecom, video accounts for 80% plus of data. The quantum of content that's there, and digital footprint is doubling pretty much every year. It's crazy. The problem is completely the other way around. The problem is to find with greatest ease what is it that appeals to you, and to have it at a point of time where sort of it makes sense to you. That's the problem with this sort of a target group. Of course, there are still the not so urban towns and the not so affluent segments where TV is still the heart of family consumption. You really have to give all the choices to the end customer. So I can no longer hold you captive to watching me on a linear TV or watching me on a YouTube. I have to bring everything at the same point of time. But therein lies the opportunity. The opportunity is that, do I let you, it's a bit like the early days of Google. I don't know how many of you ran searches when Google was in the first few years. To get 2 or 3 relevant search results, you have to scrape through about 15 or 20 results. It's a bit like that in media right now. Because whatever viewing you've done on the linear side is sort of a black box there. Digital history is so minimal that we really do not know what truly works for any of us. So if someone can A, pull content across all of these mediums, B, make it available in a manner that you can be even lazier and you can have relevant things pop up for you at any point of time which is in line with what you want, I think that's the recipe out there. And hence it's about convergence, it's about, as you said, it's about technologies like IPTV, and I don't want to talk about how mature the infrastructure is, but I think the biggest game is who can make it available in the easiest manner possible and who can help you make choices which confound you otherwise.
Mukut, I want to understand, so since you have worked in supply chain and you understand this network, how Swiggy, what Swiggy is doing, what Tanzu is doing currently. So my first question is, do you think Swiggy, Tanzu, Ola, Uber, anything who is delivering anything from point A to point B, be it a thing or a person or anything, are they all competing for the same spot? That's my first question. And secondly, in extension to this, do you think such kind of fund implosion into this system is required to build such a system in Indian scale, at the scale of Indian ecosystem?
Sure. I think on the first one, and maybe that's a slightly pessimistic view of startup ecosystem. Our startup ecosystem, and I'm not talking about the true startups, right? The guys who really need money, they never get money. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guys who have the coffers full and then they have the might of Jack Ma behind them, and then they have the might of SoftBank behind them, so on and so forth. So that game has completely shifted to who is the fattest bloke on the block, who has the greatest amount of ammunition. It's like a game of ammunition. Which keg will run dry decides who will win. It's nothing to do with where the strength of your relative strength of your offer, the connect that you have with the customer, so on and so forth. Hence, what happens? What happens when you have multi-billion dollars sitting in multiple coffers? There is no way you can deliver, and valuations were anyhow difficult to justify, but there is no way you can deliver those valuations by sticking to your core knitting. And hence, everyone is doing everything. So I think the answer to your point is that I think so. That I would distinguish between, let's say, someone like a Swiggy and an Uber or an Ola who at least built a core knitting. Right? And then they are then there is a bit about trying to sweat their customers by doing a lot many other things. Right? But I think there are some nuances here. A B2B distribution is fundamentally different from a last mile B2C distribution. A full truck distribution is fundamentally different from, forget about a bike distribution, even from a half truckload distribution. Right? These synergies don't flow the moment you break this paradigm. So you can be running a fleet of trucks across two metros and you will have a great offer for anyone who wants to do that the first time, or on reverse truckload. But the moment you get inside towns, inside cities, that's a different ball game altogether. There's no advantage that you have there. Similarly, if you look at the other end of the engine, you may have a fleet of delivery boys, right? And again, one can also go back and debate the economics. But the moment you try and extend that to intercity, you have no leg to stand there. Right? But I think sagacity and sort of moderation is the easiest casualty of great keg power that each of these guys have. So everyone is trying to do everything, but my point of view is that they will find it difficult to bust the balls of their competitor in the knitting which is not core to them. So eventually each of them, but it will be more like a horizontal way. Someone will win the entire intra-city model, someone within that will win the small load bike driven model, someone else will win the intercity model, and within that also someone else will win the part truckload model as opposed to the full truckload model. Right? That's on the distribution network side. The consumer companies, as I said, can sort of assimilate themselves with any of these networks where you're just a brand, where you're just a product, to rise in the manner which is most seamlessly to you. Right? So that's really my thesis on which companies will survive and how it will happen. I think the amount of, that's what I'm saying, that unless there is someone who comes up with a way of doing things. For example, again, before Uber came there was no, as in, I'm just trying to draw an example here, there was no way one could thought about an organized taxi business. Before Swiggy came in, you could not think about an organized pick-up and drop business. I think there are many such journeys that are still to be taken. And increasingly, as products are getting digitized, as experiences are getting digitized, you can pretty much, I think there is a great opportunity in actually saying where do you still need a physical transaction and what part of it can be digitized, and minimizing the physical transaction flow itself. So my thesis is that there will be a bloodbath here. Each of them will have, amongst the distribution companies, each of them will have their core knittings, and some of them will morph into product companies. as opposed to distribution companies, and that's how they'll survive. But I believe there is a whole rung of opportunities which is not on the back of the greatest muscle power and the greatest depth and penetration, and that battle is done, which is about doing away with the need of physical distribution altogether. And I think that's where the next round of money should be, and for a country like India, that's a humongous problem.